Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. Today is a day in the office on January 18th, 2026 at approximately 3:44 p.m. PST. Like I keep telling people, I'm set to go live at 4, but if I end up here a little early, so be it. Saves me a whole lot of hassle. Oh, that's wrong. Let's see, my coffee is down to the dregs, so I'll have to go get some more made. Not right now. But I am getting things sorted out. Wish my mind would work a little better, but that seems to be a fail. However, one of the critical factors with making sure that a company runs right is to get a clear idea in your head of what your actual goal is. So, one of the things I'm doing right now is going, okay, where am I heading with this? You know, just exactly what do I desire Inner Voice to do? Because the reality is, the world right now is a shambles, and we've got to do something to change it. This I do not require right now. So let's take a look at the corporate layout. Because the more I get organized, the easier it is to do things. So we take a look at this. That's 2026. Pull that table in so I've got something to work with. And that's numbers and what have you. That works. Now, what do we got here? Gotta keep an eye on that now, don't I? We have Philip Blair. You are in with the gold. How we doing? Here we are. I absolutely love the idea. Well, happy Sunday to you too. Have you come up with any ideas on how to save the world? Because I'll tell you, our leaders, our so-called leaders, are, well, they're leading us like a pack of lemmings. Let's see how badly we can mess things up and let somebody else sort it out afterwards. So this is why I've got the corporate layout here that I'm working on. Oh, what's that? Oh. Okay. Now that is Udina. Do I have any of these open? No. So let's get that open. We'll get this transferred to. Let's see now. We go open. What have we got? I cannot read. Well, my eyes are clearly not working well. So we go create that. And we have this. Whoop. Minimize that. Right now I'm on a different screen. So that's where the problem is. Oh, well, I appreciate that, Philip. The reality is there is something I learned about a long time ago called marketing math. And what that boils down to is if you take two people, and you put them in the same, you give them each a task, come up with ideas for whatever the marketing is that you're looking for. Come up with ideas. They'll come up with two each. But if you put, so that makes four, but if you put them in the same room, they'll come up with five, two each, and one of them will inspire another topic. Okay, another idea. Net result, you end up with five. So marketing math boils down to 2 plus 2 equals 5. And what do we got? Well, that's wrong. Why would that happen? Let's go undo. And we have that. Okay, why is that doing that, you dipstick? Do this one then. Udina. There we are. Net result, that will be meet the Udina. That is very necessary. What do we do there? That's always cute. This is Algerian 72. Therefore, we take that to Algerian. Okay, it's a font. Now let's go back into here. Here we are. I found a group of people who visit. Philip's just going. I found a group of people who visit political offices, trying to inform politicians of places that need doctors and medical supplies, and how the politician can help. They've already achieved some results. This is excellent, and this is excellent. If we keep doing this, we will be in much better shape. And you'll notice it's so-called small people or the little people that are making this happen. So I'm looking at this going, okay, now let's start with this. That's scratch notes that I have to worry about. Maybe I should get that onto place. So I had to shut things down yesterday. Okay, that should work there. One of the things that I look at is I see complications and I look at them in my own world and go, there's a problem here. So I've got to change the way I'm doing things, or I cannot honestly claim to be leading by example. We open that up and we open this one. IV evolution. Okay. Now we got all the files open that I kind of had to have open. But I was looking at way down, way up there, I think. A, B, C is different ones we're already booked for. So if we take that one, we go all the way down here. And we go upcoming. Whoops. Didn't want to do that. Okay. Different topics we will be looking at down the road. Because I've got to start filling things in here. So I'm just starting to make a list of the different topics to work with. Okay, pop that out. We will be dealing with, now these are topics for positive perception. Positive perception. But these are ideas that people have come up with. Things like how to have a peaceful revolution. Okay. Where are we here? I do not know where that is. Okay. No. And we do this. We are going to, down the road, be looking at crop circles, their purpose. There we go. And what was the other? Constellation. Okay, those are topics that are already there now. We do have to look at what are these projects. Now we've got Meet the. Yes, we do have Meet the, but that doesn't install this. I'm going to pop in there and see what people have put in. Insert column. There we are. Now pop back here to see who's got what. Here we are. Oh, yeah, I will. I should actually mention that to her. But she is up front right now. Give me 10 seconds. I'll see if she wants to join us. She has just, she's working on landing a gig because she is a professional flutist. And she's working on landing a gig at a local restaurant. But I will see if she's got time to pop in. Give me half a moment. Okay. Just double check with her. She is going to be here tonight on Positive Perceptions at 8 p.m. Pacific. But right now she's doing research. My wife is doing research on different what's it called? On different songs, different pieces to do for the gig that she's got hopefully coming up. We went in the other day, just on Saturday, to see the manager, and he was quite attentive. He's going to be talking to the owner about getting her in there. She did say, however, she will be here tonight. Joe, you are in with the silver. How you doing? Hopefully things are going well on your end. Now, I was looking at something here. This is... Oh, yes, I was trying to put those in. Let us see. Go to... that. And we have Meet the... What do we got? And we got to get started on all of these. Well, more than point getting finished on them. Reticulans. Elfin. Shazazian. Then we have the Udina. The Yep. Oh, yeah, the Vulcans, Martokians, Volusians. Well, that worked out well. Vulcan, Martokian, Venusian, and the Moldog. These are all ones I'll be working on over the course of the year. Okay, let's go back to here and see where we're standing. Yeah, in all fairness, Philip, I actually set the time up at 4 o'clock so that Joe had the opportunity to come in here because he was a regular. He was a regular earlier in the previous run, and it really boiled down to a problem of it was just too late for him, which I can fully understand. You know, now where am I looking here? Oh, by the way, and I keep people posted on this. I still am sitting here somewhat flabbergasted by the number of people that turn around and say, by the number of marketing specialists that come up with these ideas. And this last one literally told me, okay, well, literally insinuated that people do not have the attention span to change their own life. And I'm telling you, if you don't have the attention span for that, you're going to have a problem. What we got here, Christina? 1877. I'm just taking some numbers that I've got on a scratch piece of paper here to make certain that I actually get them on track. I don't actually know what these ones are for, but so be it. 0442. But no, when the guy told me, "Oh, you got to get on the TikTok and the shorter programs," I all of a sudden looked at it and went, you know, people have to be, I could draw more numbers, absolutely, but the reality of it is this: if I turn around, Cowie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I trust things are going well. I figure I could change it to shorter form, but I don't talk long. I talk little enough in case you hadn't noticed. So I thought, okay, I could do that, but to what end? Realistically, if I cut back on the amount of information I'm dealing with, because people don't hear it, if it's real quick, you don't pay any attention to it at all. So I'm just not going to shorten it. I mean, I only run till 5 o'clock, and that's 5 o'clock Pacific. But I do that because it's a simple issue of it gives me a nice, comfortable break. Lets me put things in place. Well, I would be well if I hadn't dislocated my knee 3 times in the last 2 days. So I'm absolutely in a whole lot of pain. Now, what have we got? This is what have we got here? That's necessary, but this is what I'm working with the corporation. Board of Advisors, I think this is what I'm just writing in. That is what we do. Okay, here we are. Well, we Phillips just letting us know true crime is a whole genre of accounts of how people change their lives in a usually negative fashion. Stands to reason there'd be even more people changing their lives in a positive way. Absolutely, and this is the whole point. You look at it all throughout news. It tells you we're at war with this. There's a rise in prices in this. We've got these conflicts, these disappointments, these crimes. But I'm telling you, for every one negative, I swear there's got to be at least a dozen positive. Okay, a minimum of. Because how many people celebrate their graduations? How many people get married? How many people have children? I mean, let's face it, these are all things to celebrate. Okay, why flood the news with things that actually make people depressed? Unless you're trying to get people to live in fear. Now, you can do that, absolutely. And I have fought depression most of my life. I finally got it through my head that I have a choice. I can dwell on the things that went wrong, or I can start looking at the things that are going right. So I'm looking at this going, I've got a board of advisors at this point. Let me see here, because I can't see a dang thing. One thing that is going wrong is my eyesight is completely hooped. Okay. Nice. We have my board. This is my board of advisors. And understand the big difference here between a board of advisors and a board of between a board of advisors and a board of directors. A board of directors, as is insinuated, they tell you what to do. Okay. Yeah, you notice that too, eh, Phil? Phil goes, you see more people at the park when the weather is positive than when the weather is negative. Shade, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The nice part about it, from my end, is I'm looking at this and I go, okay, board of directors tells me exactly what to do. I'm not good at following orders. I'm really not. Especially if the orders don't make sense. So, my board of advisors are the people I turn to and say, hey, I'm striving to make a change here. What would you suggest? If it's good, I'll take it. Okay. That's the neat part about it. One of the things that I look at, like my executive assistant is on my board of advisors. Can't picture why. That would be Kara. Okay. She provides insight, guidance, and observation on all aspects of my current activities. And I do mean business and home life. I just did a profit and loss statement for literally the first time ever for my company. Turns out I'm making a profit. Okay, not a good one. And still not where I desire it to be. Okay, but she also helped point out potential hiccups on the path to success. In other words, while I'm talking things over, she comes up with ideas. And for pity's sakes, people, if you come up with an idea, if you see something that may be a problem, let me know. It would be appreciated. She also helps with advertising for potential opportunities and concepts towards future goals. We are going to be taking, like I've already worked out the numbers. I've got to rework them and just make sure they're all on track. I've already worked out the numbers where once I cover with book sales and consulting, once I cover those, I will be turning profit over to the general population. But here's the kicker. Okay, I'm not going to be doing it for getting tax breaks. I'm just not. I could. I absolutely could. But my intention is simple. If I take my net profit, and bear in mind, net profit means I'm going to cover my own expenses first. I will keep a roof over my head. Okay, but I don't require $1 billion a month. I really don't. Okay, I require right now, I require literally $2,000 a month to live comfortably. I am going to be enhancing that. And this is why I'm looking at, and I'll give solid numbers within the next couple of weeks here. Because I've got to run the numbers and make sure I'm absolutely on the path, because this is where I lay it at. Okay, but I'm looking at taking a massive majority of my net profit and turning it back over to the population. I will be donating some of my net profits to food banks and the SPCA or animal shelters or whatever name you want to put them. I will be in control of it because I'm not going after tax breaks. But understand, I will be going down and I'll go to the grocery store and go, okay, I can buy this case, I'll take it to the food bank, and they can split it up amongst the people that require it. Things like that. That's called charity. In my eyes, if you're getting a tax break for charity, it's not charity, it's greed. Now, that's just my personal opinion. Okay. I will also, however, be taking some of that net profit once I've got it, and I will be ending up buying strangers a gift. You go out to a restaurant, the working poor are always, always, always overlooked until now. Now, the working poor is probably most of you guys, okay, where you turn around, you fight to survive, okay, and you scrimp and save, and you finally go, I desire to go for dinner, okay, so that's what you do. So and I've done this in the past when I had a lot of cash flow, okay, what I did was I'd go into a restaurant, I'd look around, I'd take a look at a table and go, see that table? I'm footing the bill for it. Okay. Now, that said, there is not a person I know of that complains when somebody pays for something for them. Well, actually, there are. There are those that go, I have to do it myself. Okay. So I will do that for people. I will also go through. Okay. I will also, when I've got the cash to do it, do the same thing in a grocery store. Because to me, this is what charity is. Now, the churches have it right, in my eyes, when they say you should be donating 10% to charity. Absolutely. But there is not a snowball's prayer I would give a plug nickel to a registered church or to a registered charity, because I've done the research myself. Okay. And when you're taking that donation and a massive majority of the funding is going towards the overhead, that's not a charity. That's a money grab. Okay. I've looked into charities. I'm not going to tell you names. Okay. I'm also not going to call you names. But I've looked into charities where, I kid you not, 90% of your donation goes to handling their overhead. This is wrong. This has nothing to do with charity. Okay. What they're doing is they're turning around and saying, I'm going to say I'm being nice. And all they do is they take all of that money you give them, and out of every dollar, I know of one in particular, last I checked, which admittedly was about 10 years ago, last I checked, only 1 penny out of every dollar went to the actual charity. Okay, so with Inner Voice, when I get it set up, and I got to figure out how to set it up business-wise, if I'm going to look at donations, but if I'm with just my own income, I will be taking, once I have covered my basics, Remember that karmic law. Be true to yourself first. I will cover my living expenses first. Once I cover that, then I will turn around and I'll go, okay, I had a little extra money, so I turned around and bought this family a dinner for this much. They didn't have to pay for it. But I don't bother with this neat little idea of going, oh, I'm going to pay for it and I'm going to get a tax break. That's not charity to me. Okay. Yo, that's kind of like saying, oh, I'm being very charitable and I'm giving somebody a ride someplace and then I'm getting money from them to do it. You know, a cabbie doesn't do charity. They drive you wearing even Uber. These people are paid to drive you someplace. You pay their gas, you pay their wages, which I have no problem with. We use Uber all the time, my wife and I. But where it comes to charity itself, as in donations to a food bank, donations to Value Village or any secondhand store, anything where you're not actually making money, okay, this is not charity. Okay, when you're doing it, if you're making money, that's charity. If you're making money, it's not charity. In my case, I'm looking at it going, I will have the money. And now that I've done the actual profit and loss, I know for an absolute certainty that the path I'm on is going to lead to a profit. Now, coming back here, another member of my board of advisors is Frank. He handles my tech. Like, he's the one that takes care of any technical complication I've got. Okay, for all the computers, for anything I've gotten that way. He also helps. He also helps with enlightening on potential security risks and management tools. Okay, this is what he is good at. As he puts it, he knows things and he fixes things. That's what he does. Okay. So I talk to him when I've got a complication tech-wise. I know he's going to be honest with me. And then we take a look at, he also watches over the goings on inside my live stream. He's the one that will hunt down people. That sounds really bad. If somebody's a problem, Frank is the one that literally will go in and go, you're a problem, and remove them. Okay, and he's good at it, but understand, I asked him to make the place safe for virtually everybody, including here. Okay, now then we take a look at the paranormal, and this is where LA comes in. Okay, she comes in to provide added insight into the paranormal world at large. She's got a lot of understanding of it in the way of the different metaphysical tools, different odds and ends from that end. Okay, she also keeps a very close eye on my own personal health. I'll tell you, that's a benefit and a half. It's also a challenge, considering I'm a bit of a stubborn freak on that one. And we are looking at right now, what's the other thing? Yeah, she also provides added support in the chat room. Then my creative advisor is Phil. Okay, he's been a good friend of mine for over 20 years now. Actually, dang near 30. Okay, and he's the one that bounced all the weird ideas I've got off of me. He just looks at me and goes, hey, that'll work or that won't. He does provide the creative side to it. He also helps me with functional reason. Okay, because sometimes I can get a little hot under the collar, to say the least. Phil's just saying, sounds like Frank Legalia. good at being the villain when needed. Absolutely. Frank is. I've had people tell me that Frank is a bully, and I look at them going, no, Frank just throws people out that are problems. And the people that call him a bully are usually the ones that got thrown out. I'm pretty black and white on that. So that's the four people that I've got on my board of advisors. When I figure out either I've got another area I require understanding on, I will plan on bringing an advisor on that. The number of people that have come to me and gone, oh, I know marketing really well. We can do this. It's going to cost you. It isn't going to cost me a nickel. Let's just be clear on this. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on companies, on marketing companies to improve my sales. And yes, I intend on bringing my sales up. But the reality of it is this: I'm not paying any more for it. I'm in the process of drawing up a legal contract that once I am satisfied with it, I'll take it to a lawyer, and the lawyer can look at it and go, "Here's how to make it real. Here's how to make it viable." Okay. Until then, I do it my way. One of the nice parts about it, with what I'm doing, is I've got an idea in my head. We can have a world that is really good. It can either be like heaven on earth or like hell on earth. Your call. Okay? I'm tired of fighting to survive. I'm tired. Tired of that too. I'm tired of having this neat little problem where I turn around and go, I'd like things to happen, and then somebody throws a stone wall up in front of me. Not happy with that. So I've come to the conclusion I'm not tolerating it anymore. I just put my phone on charge here. Okay, that should help. But when I let people drive me into severe depression over the last 4 years, it threw everything for a loop. Okay. And now what I'm doing is going, okay, I've got all this information that's got to get out before people end up, and before the information gets lost altogether. So that's the board of advisors I've got. Now let's see what else I've managed to. Nope. This is all stuff I'm working on. And I do have to answer a whole pile of questions for myself, certainly. What is this? Advertisement I'm looking into. Okay. This particular one can go to the garbage. The thing is, I've got a lot of information that is absolutely useless. This thing here, okay, I'm not going to hold it closer for you. I am building an active recovery center. Okay, I am building one. I've already got the communication lines established. This is where positive perceptions and positive perspectives comes in. Okay, these particular streams, as well as my appearances anywhere, are actually going to be, they are the way I'm going to spread word. Plus, of course, I will be working with Facebook and LinkedIn. And I know there's lots of bad things about them. People can tell me that all they like. Reality is, every one of the technological windows has its problems. Okay, I'm comfortable with those two. That's why I'm using them. Okay, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I used to use X. I was using Twitter, but they changed things so badly, I can't even get into it anymore. And since I am not technologically averse, I'm done fighting with it. Okay, absolutely. If somebody desires me to come on your show, okay, to come on your show in order to deal with a topic of some form, let me know. Absolutely let me know. I'll be happy and heck to come on. Well, that's just weird. Now, the neat part is I am doing my best to connect with people and see what I can deal with. But it boils down to making certain I do things in the right order. Whoop, go back there. Okay. Yeah, Philip goes X marks the spot. And here's the thing. I hear people go, oh, that's a billionaire doing this. Who cares? Okay. If I'm making money at what I'm doing, if he makes more money, be my guest. I work with Buy Me a Coffee, and if you go to the top of the link, top of the chat room, right there, it tells you, there's a link there for buymeacoffee.com/inner voice J. That is where you can find every one of the books that I've written, both in solid form and in PDF form. Okay, that is the information I'm starting to work with. But this neat little thing, people talk about companies being about certain programs being pyramid. I'm telling you right now, everything in existence is built on a pyramid. Okay. So I'm looking at this whole this here, if you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it, right? But that's a triangle that's broken down, showing where it starts and how it trickles down. And I'm breaking it down properly so I can make it right. You take a look at this one. I am going to be I've got a trademark worked out that I am going to figure out how to make legal. Okay. Because again, a trademark does help put things together. Now, we have here some of the projects I've been working on. On the spiritual side, we are looking at, where are we here? Oh, those are topics I got to deal with. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, so why don't we put those in place where we require them? Because many of the topics that I deal with on positive perceptions will be worked on in point form in Positive Perspectives, which is that free magazine I put out. Again, you can get the link at the top of the show, at the top of the chat room. But if we take this, we open that up, and we go to, there we are. Now, there we are. Okay, let's get these down. Some of these topics I'm working on, okay, are literally ones we've covered before. But it gives me an idea of what to do with things. Let's do that in this way. Okay. Spiritual, social. See, one of the other things that I've looked at is we take a look at this. We know the world is a bit of a mess. But one of the easiest ways, one of the most effective ways that I know of to make your neighborhood safer is get to know your neighbor. Okay. By getting to know your neighbor, you get to figure out exactly where you're standing. Okay. And rest assured, there's all kinds of people that'll tell you, oh, the people that stab you are the ones that get close. Well, think about it. If they're not close to you, they're not going to be able to stab you. Okay. But you can focus on all the things that have gone bad. Let me ask you this, and just think about this aspect for yourself. When you look at your own life, how many friends do you have you had over your lifetime? And of those, what percentage really turned around and stabbed you in the back? Because the way that social media makes it sound, and the way that the major moguls make it sound, is everybody's out to get you. Now, I don't know about you, but that to me sounds like paranoia. Okay. See, what I'm doing here is just marking down different notes. I am doing my best to get into the 21st century. Absolutely, I am. You know, but there are complications with it, I found. Educational, financial manipulation. I'm looking at this, and you know how I've been going. I need some topics to work with. I've got a whole list of topics here. Okay. Advertising. This is different ideas I've got, but I'm in this spot, so what the heck? And advertising. Recipes. I'm looking for things to enhance positive perception or positive perspectives as well, for a lot of reasons. Let me see here. The fact of the matter is that it gets really tricky while I'm working on some of this stuff, because what I'm doing is making certain that the information I've got is getting tracked properly so I can work with it. Filler story. See, one of the things is Positive Perspectives is a free magazine, but it's got to have more in it than just dry reading. So what I will be doing is I've got some poetry that I've written. Matter of fact, I've got an entire anthology, and I've got to get that sorted around. But again, if you guys have an idea, I would like the magazine to get larger, but right now, I happen to be the only one writing. And the reason for that is because it is free. So the only thing I can offer you, if you decide to send something in, is understand you're not going to get paid for it. Okay. But it does have some interesting impacts. And I'm working the details out on that. Again, I'll be laying it out and then talking to a lawyer to make sure I can get it laid out properly. Okay. Off-worlders. Filler. These are just ideas, that I'm looking at, doing my best to actually get things moving properly. Because I know if I don't make things a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more interactive, things are not going to work as well as I'd like. That's just the sad reality of it. Okay. Just about got that. Then we go here. There we go. That pen. There we are. Pen. Because again, it boils down to, I do use a computer, so I might just as well make it count. But one of the things I've got to look at here is I look at the amount of negative news out there. So I've got the Scream Positive Perceptions and the magazine called Positive Perspectives. But I'll tell you, I have a staggering problem with depression. Okay. Primarily because I'm so overwhelmed. I'm hit so often with people that look at the world and go, the world is a shambles. We're all going to die. Nobody's making it ahead, and it's all somebody else's fault. Well, let me ask you this. If you've got the option of having, and I'm just going to make it a simple one. You've got the choice. You're given, bread and cheese, okay, or you're given porridge. You get to pick which one. You're told literally, here's something that's good for you. Here's something else that's good for you. Or let's put that in a better option. Here, here's a bottle of castor oil, and here's a cup of coffee. You have the choice. Coffee does this for you. Castor oil does this for you. Okay, or does this to you. Take your pick. Which do you decide? Which one are you going to take? Now, here's the thing. You have the option. Okay, you're given the option. The big pharmaceutical companies tell you, here's this thing that this pill will do to help you. Here's a stack of stuff that it will do to hurt you. And the pharmaceutical companies come out and say, this is your option. This is what it does. Buy my stuff. Now, are the pharmaceutical companies responsible for you buying their product? Okay, yes, they've got some phenomenal advertising techniques. Okay, but are they really making you buy that medication? It's like the alcoholics that tell me, oh, it's somebody else's fault I'm an alcoholic. No, it's not. In all fairness, Philip, I drink my coffee absolutely black. Okay, not because I'm prejudiced, but because I figure if I'm going to poison myself, I might as well know what I'm doing it with. But, the pharmaceutical company will tell you, this is what we've got and what it will do. Now, please buy it. Is it their fault that you turned around and bought it? Surface, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Just so you're aware, I haven't seen you before there, Surface, but I'm certainly glad you dropped in. If you look at the top of the stream, at the top of the chat room, you'll find a link to buymeacoffee.com/InnerVoiceJ. That is the link that will get you to every book I've written and my contact information, as well as the free magazine that I put out. Like I've told people, there are topics I won't talk about here. But, oh yeah, and that just reminded me. Let me double check something because I've got to make certain I got it right. Where is it? Now. It was a message I got from somebody. Here we are. As it turns out, let's see. I will be going, it looks like, and I can only say this is what I'm expecting. on January 21st. In other words, on Wednesday. I don't have the link for you yet, but I am going on another show. Where are we here? I am going on another show to talk about Lord knows what, because the guy hasn't told me yet. But I am very willing to go on anybody's live stream and talk to them directly. Absolutely. So if you're looking for somebody, absolutely drop me a line. We'll work it into my schedule. Okay. The fact of the matter is, I'm blunt. That's all you really have to realize. I don't sugarcoat things, and I'm not about to lie to people to make them feel better. I had somebody actually ask me onto their show a while back, and I went on their show. And every time I went to say something, they said, no, you've got to say that in a different way. Rest assured, as long as I'm being respectful, and I will follow the rules as far as the different show goes. But I don't do it because I'm trying to make somebody look good. I don't speak the way I do because I'm trying to make a different impression. I am who I am. That's just the way it is. And when I look at the number of people that blame the government, blame the major moguls and the pharmacies for them having a problem, okay, this does not work well. I fight depression because I let things get to me. Where are we here? Philip goes, it happened. This happened here on the 4th of June of 2024. When FDA, I got it, watch that. There we go. When FDA advisory board voted to block legal access to MOMA. I do not know what that is personally. Assisted therapy for PTSD. Only one member of the panel had experience working with PTSD. He voted to approve legal access. And that's the whole kicker. The people that are blocking it, most of them haven't got a clue. Now, the reality is I used to work in hospitality, in restaurants. And I swear, the people that designed the kitchen never set foot in one beforehand. It's just absolutely bizarre. But the reality of it is this. I am looking at this world going, yes, there are problems. Absolutely there are. But I still, to this day, I suffer from PTSD from a number of factors. But to this day, I still look at it going, there are obstacles. I am going to break out of this path. I'm no longer going to live the life of going, I'm just killing time. I told my wife when I came out of the last cardiac run, I told her flat out, no longer am I putting in time. I am doing what I can to encourage people to land on their feet and start communicating. Okay, the reality is we have a mess on our hands. It helps to know the needs of the kitchen workers when designing a kitchen. Might be an idea. I mean, whoever this one genius was, and I don't know if you guys know kitchen. I do. I don't cook very well because, no sense of time, no sense of space, no sense of taste. But you don't put a deep fat fryer with no break right next to an open grill. This is guaranteed to have a problem somewhere down the road. Okay, so I look at this going, you might want to look at what you're designing. Okay, with positive perspectives, with the magazine, I have decided I'm not putting negative information in. I mean, the negative side is this. Bad things happen, and this is pretty much my whole negative article. Bad things around the world happen. They absolutely do. With this in mind, if you really want to desire to know more details about it, then here's the kicker for you. Go find another magazine. Go find another newscast. Go find something to get depressed over. What do we got here? They. Oh, did I miss something here? There we go. That's always handy, Joe. I remember when you first started doing Dream Journals. You know, and I know when I was first talking to you, you weren't quite certain how it will work out. I am so glad to see it's gone as well as it has. And here's a neat little part. It's an added bonus if you desire to go that way. When you get around to passing away, leave your dream journals to somebody you care about. And it's just a suggestion. Okay, it's a suggestion that comes from my heart because I journal on almost a daily basis, and I've got them all in a file. I will be putting them into a binder, into a book, and going, this is my journal from this date to this date. Okay, and then when I get that one, when I put that one out, I'll get another one printed, and it will go to my kids when I pass away. Okay, it's just something that will stay put. Now, my wife is transcribing the whole 9 yards, but this is just information they can use to see what their father really went through. Okay, and dream journals are another aspect of doing that. The reality of it is, I can look at the world and go, oh, it's everybody else's fault that I'm having trouble. Okay, I'm telling you, that is a cop out. Now, I've gone bankrupt twice. Okay, and there are people out there that say, "Oh, I'm an excellent businessman. I've gone bankrupt X number of times." I'm telling you, if you're going bankrupt, you're not as good a businessman as you think you are. Okay, now yes, I absolutely. The first time I went bankrupt on a $6,000 debt at the guidance of a professional trustee. Now here's the stupid part. Once I got an idea of how that all works, I refused to go bankrupt, and I have shown people how to avoid bankruptcy because I'm not a great businessman in as much as I am not a multimillionaire. And apparently that's how you tell if you're a businessman. However, I am running in the black, and I can go to bed at night saying, I did exactly what I set out to do. Okay. But when you look in the mirror and you go, I'm better than you are because I got more money than you, I'm telling you, the happiest people I've run into are not living in a house. They don't have a bunch of stuff. One of the things that I found is if I can wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and go, that person is honest. When I open my mouth, I know what comes out of it is going to be honest. It's likely to be untactful. That was a really poor word. It's likely to be tactless. Okay. But that's because I'm not thinking about how to make people feel better about it. I'm going, this is what I'm dealing with. Philip goes, I had a nightmare last night about monsters under the town. Not a pleasant dream. And he goes, hides. The sad part is when I have dreams, and this is bad, when I have dreams where I end up being the cause of a body count, I usually wake up in the morning fully relaxed. This is not a good way to be. Not in my eyes. I would rather have like I had years ago, okay, way back when marijuana was illegal. I would go down to the park and I'd sit down. There was a little hillock there by the skateboard park. When I first got there, the people there were skateboarders and scooter riders, and they would be in a physical fight if they ever crossed the border, crossed the line between them. But as time went on, because I go out there and I talk to the individual, I remember this one day, I end up sitting on this hillock, okay, and around me, I'm looking at 30, 40 people, ranging from and doing exactly what I'm doing here, okay, but without the video. And I had 30 or 40 people sitting around me, and they were looking at me, going, and they're paying attention to what I'm saying. I'm looking at this crowd, and they're ranging from age, I kid you not, 8 to 80. They're sitting there on the ground. I'm sitting on the hillock at the top of it. They're all around the hillock, around me. I'm talking to them, and they're listening, and it's just weird. From my standpoint, it was weird. And I mean, today has been weird too. You know, the reality is, I'm amazed when people come in here. I really am. But I'm sitting there, I'm looking at these 80 people, and they're literally leaning forward, listening to what I'm saying. And I looked at it, I went, this is way too familiar. Way too familiar. Okay, I've done this before. And I remember doing this before. The fact of the matter is, if I can sit down and talk to people about things that are going well, about the positive things that are happening, okay, and people are willing to listen, why not do it? Honestly, why not do it? The reality of it is that there is so much emphasis on what's gone wrong in this world that we are in serious trouble. But it is up to all of us to change that. What is this? It's just information on the corporation I'm working on. And like I said, I've got the corporate layout, but I'm not likely to open the corporation. This. Oh. Dynamic. This has to be a basic. Yep. And oh, again, those are. I was just going through some notes here because, like I said, I'm still enhancing Races of the World. Okay, and I came across some more information on what Star Wars calls Ewoks. Then there's another species I just came across the notes for, where they have a dual eye stalk. Okay, their eyes are not in their head; their eyes are up here. Okay, and of course, then we got the one where the entire cranial system isn't inside a skull; it's inside a chest cavity. And these are ones I will be enhancing. I will be adding the information to. What is it? Oh, kind of a necessary little article. Really time to get it put together. Inner voice policy. These are the policies to run the corporation by. Kind of a necessary commodity. And what is... Oh, all kinds of information I gotta go through. Hey. Let's not do that, shall we? Gotta go through those. I've got to write the manual and get all this stuff put down where it belongs. Kind of a necessary thing. If you're going to build something, know exactly what you're building as best you can. I'm just looking at this. Phelps goes, I think the nightmare was connected to some unpleasant local history. I've been ruminating over it. Spun into a horror dream. Yeah, no doubt. And that sometimes is all a dream is. Oh, yeah, that would be Carl Jung, a phenomenal father of modern psychology. Samo, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Samo is one of my moderators, usually over in positive perception. But like I said, I let my moderators come in wherever because they are what help keep my head on straight. And this is why I say, I do have a number of books out. And if you go to that link at the top of the stream, buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej, that is where you'll find the books. And they cover all kinds of topics. The nice part about things is I take this hour, I call it a day in the office, because I can sit here and go, okay, this is what I'm working on. It gives me the time to absolutely lock things in while I'm puttering, which is why I now have a plan to deal with as far as my handbook for my corporation goes. Yeah, I was actually, when I was growing up, I was actually forbidden to take psychology. And the reason I was given was literally, we have enough professionals playing around inside your head. We don't need some amateur screwing it up. Now, we are, oh, not quite. Yeah, we are getting down to the last couple of minutes. I will be back again tonight. Let me just double check here, make sure I tell you the right thing. All the way back up here. Today is the 18th. So we are going to be looking tonight on Positive Perceptions, right here on YouTube at 8 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be looking at language, its impact on mental health. And yes, on top of everything else, I do have an interesting, I do have an interesting outlook on things. I've literally found thus far at least 8 words that in any language are self-debilitating. Chris, how we doing? Glad to see you. And what do we got here? I cannot read. I gotta get close because my eyeballs clearly are not working. Oh, that's Christine. My apologies. And who else did we have? Oh, there we go. Veronica Lyon. How you doing? I'm really happy to see new people coming in here. The idea is this. It's not a question of numbers. It's a question of helping people. As best I can anyway. One of the neatest things that I look at is this. I've been through an absolute disaster in my life, and I could go into all kinds of it, but I'm no longer looking at that. I'm writing it down so my kids can know about it. And so my wife, when I finally do pass for the last time, has a little more to hang on to. But the reality is, I've looked at the past and gone, I can't do anything about it. But centuries ago, I ran several plantations, and I was taught I had all the money I required. But the important factor was the way that I treated the people around me. That was the thing that made me happy. And that's what's making me happy here. And in all fairness, like I said, the money that I did generate from Buy Me a Coffee last year is literally what kept food on the table for us. And I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Now, with this in mind, we are at the 5 o'clock mark here. Yep. So I am going to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me today. Really appreciate it. I am here Friday through Tuesday, starting around 4 p.m. until 5 p.m. From Friday through Tuesday, and from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific time. So until we talk again, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.